Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to Patricia Raskin Positive Living. I'm Patricia Raskin, and this is the program that shows you how to turn your obstacles into opportunities and your problems into solutions and make your dreams come true. We're in our 23rd year on Voice America and very proud of that. And today we are talking about, we're talking about writing. And a lot of us are involved in writing proposals, writing for work. And many times we put our writing into books, particularly nonfiction books, how-to books. And today we're talking about creating and using nonfiction education-based books as a marketing tool for our companies. Could be a sales tool, could be a marketing tool, but it's also an educational tool. My guest is Ed McDonough, who is a he's a strategist, but he's an architect. So we call him a marketing architect, and he'll explain what that is. He is a trained direct response copywriter, and he's the founder of ECE Marketing Services, LLC, now located in North Carolina. Well, welcome, Ed.
Hi, Patricia. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Yeah, Ed is a friend, and I live in Rhode Island, where he lived in New England, and we were friends. And then he moved to North Carolina, where I used to live, in a town very close to where I used to live. So, and I'm going to go back and visit there. So it's a very special place, and so happy to have you. And your work is really global, Ed, right? I mean, it's for everybody, really, no matter where you live. Talk about, first of all, um, why should somebody who has a business, an educational business or a marketing business or anything that they're selling, could be Windows, it could be IT, it could be tech, it could be a skincare product. Why, what would be the benefit of them writing a book, really to help sell their product?
That's a great question, Patricia. So the way I see nonfiction books, kind of how-to books, is a way to build rapport with an audience that you normally wouldn't have an opportunity to do that with. So the books that I've written are really marketing and pre-sales tools. And the reason why they are is because they set the author up as the authority in the marketplace. So let me give you an example of that. So for instance, if there's a person that knows little to nothing about your company or you or your products and services, but they're an ideal client of yours, they would fit into your marketing mix, and you can send them a book or they can buy a book where you're telling them what they need to do to solve their problem or achieve their goal. That sets you up as an authority figure. It's actually called the buyer journey. So anytime a person purchases something, they go through this journey in their head, and the only way they're going to move forward is when they feel comfortable that you're the best choice for them. So an how-to educational based book sets you up as that authority figure. You can think of it as being the teacher standing in front of the class, right?
Mm.
When you're that teacher, you're the person who's been vetted, you're the person who the people trust, and you're the person that they're going to come to when they have questions that they need
Mm.
answered.
So, Ed, how do you make the material come alive and not boring? Right? Because a lot of your points are sales points. This is why you should use the product. That's fine if it's a manual, right? You're going there for that how to, but this
Right.
isn't a manual. This is more marketing sales. So, how do you make it interesting so the person wants to stay with it and read it?
So first of all, the topic of the book should be what is needed for the person to either solve their problem or achieve their goal.
Hmm.
It's targeted at a specific market in your marketplace, your ideal customer, preferably the person that's most likely to buy your products and services. And it's going to show them what is needed to solve their problem or achieve their goal, not how it's done. You're how it's done, right? The company's how it's done,
Hmm.
the product or
Hmm.
services. So the thing that makes it so interesting is the person has this problem or has this goal they want to achieve, and you're providing them a framework that they can use to get to where they want to get to.
Mhm. Can you give us an example? It could be your own, or it could be somebody that has read your book about how to do this, in a certain product field and how this has helped them, or maybe how they've done this.
Sure. So my latest book is called Leveraging Buyer Psychology for Copywriters. So first of all, I'll point out that it's a specific niche within my market. It is for copywriters. That's why I put that on the title or the cover of the book. Um, the one of the things that copywriters want to know is what are the things that I can say or do in order to get people to pay attention to me and the product or service that I'm promoting. And that's what the
Right.
leveraging buyer psychology part is about. So I researched my audience, I found that this was an interest for them, and then I developed a strategy to write the book and market the book based on that.
Yeah. But you kept your target audience in mind, and I think that's what you're saying, is you're not writing this for everybody. You're writing this for a specific market.
Right, and it could even be, a segment of of a specific market. So, for instance, the copywriters that I'm looking to attract are really what's called direct response or sales copywriters. So I could have even been more specific and put that in the title of the book as well. I didn't because I wanted it to serve a little bit broader audience, but the critical part of this is that this book, this marketing tool, is for a specific target audience, a specific
Mm,
demographic, or even more importantly, the people that are most likely to purchase your products and services.
yeah. Are there certain things, Ed, that you want to make sure you put in the book? Now, you said you're the expert, so you're not going to give all the how-tos away in the book. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's more about what's needed than how to do it.
Hmm, yeah. So, for example, in the book for copywriters, you would tell them why they need to write something.
Correct. So in my book, I take them through the process of how to understand what buyer psychology is, and then um, the steps they need to take to apply that to their copywriting. But I don't really dive into the how to, uh, execute those steps.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I find as a consumer and as a buyer, um, particularly now, I am very focused on if I'm going to buy something, it's because I either really want it or I really need it. And usually there's a need, and I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, some people just buy because, it's a fun thing for them. But I think most of us, there's a real need. The question is, Ed, why do I pick product A over product B, or you as a service provider over someone else?
Yeah, excellent question. So that goes back to what I spoke of earlier. It's the buyer journey. And there are many different interpretations of this. The one that I found that works the best, and I teach this quite often, is there are four components: the desire, research, justification, and acquisition. And so no matter what you buy, whether it's the same box of cereal every week, gas for your car, or a $50,000, a vehicle, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You're going to go through that process. And so what makes you choose a particular product or service or provider is the fact that you believe that they can help you more than anyone else. And so
Mm,
that's where that know, like, and trust factor comes in. And that's why this educational content is so important, because through that teaching, you show that you're the person who understands their needs and can provide a solution to them. So it's not a sales pitch, it's purely educational.
mm. Ed, how important do you think testimonials are?
Extremely important. And for two reasons. Number one is it's third-party validation. So regardless of what I say about my business, what other people say about it is are much more impactful than anything that I could possibly say. So testimonials bring that third-party validation. The other thing that testimonials allow you to do is build something called case studies, where you can do some work for a client, get a testimonial for them, and then use that as a customer story, if you will, to again help promote the other products and services that you have, or the product and service that they came to you for in the first place.
And you call it a case study because
Because it's about a specific customer, the problem they had, the
I
solution
see.
you provided them, and the results they got.
And the more you can get of those, the better, right? Because it's not just, gee, this guy was great, he listened to me. It's he's helped me solve my problem, or she helped me solve my problem.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike an online reviewer where most people say, oh, they had great customer service, they were easy to work with, they were friendly, they were courteous, they were professional. Those are all nice things, but they don't really show the bottom line benefit of they helped me get 10 more customers, or, they fixed my roof, within, 6 hours or something. So you want more tangible results, and then you want the testimonial to back up those tangible results that you provided.
Yeah, yeah, really important. Yeah. All right. Gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more to Ed about this whole kind of psychology, and as he says, leveraging buyer psychology for copywriters or for anybody, of why it's important to write. And then we'll talk about how to write. We talked a little bit about this before, but what are things we want to make sure that we say, and what are things we want to make sure we know about our audience before we start writing, about the research that we may want to do, and also about the marketing, because Ed is a master marketer. Once we have this, how we get it out there and let people know, because there's so much out there today. All right, you're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com. And you can find Ed at leverage buyer slash psychology. No, leveraging buyer psychology.com, or ECE Marketing Services.com, or on Facebook at Ed McDonough, and LinkedIn Ed McDonough as well. And that's McDonough. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hi, everyone, and we are back. We are talking to Ed McDonough, and Ed McDonough is an architect, and we call him an architect of marketing, and he'll explain what that is. He also is a trained direct response copywriter, meaning how do you get response when you send something out? And he's the founder of ECE Marketing Services, LLC. And he helps companies develop and implement an effective long-term client acquisition process that focuses on growth, and also he mentors aspiring copywriters. He also is the author of 5 marketing books, 3 of which are Amazon bestsellers. So welcome back, Ed. Okay, why do we call you a marketing architect rather than a marketing strategist?
Mostly because I'm a marketing person and I want to be different than everybody else. So, but there is a little bit difference in what an architect does and a strategist. An architect looks at the complete marketing landscape and then builds a strategy based on what the company does really well and where they're looking to go.
Yeah.
So I actually design, not only implement strategies, but also design the complete marketing system that companies are going to use.
Yeah. And when you help to design that system, what are some of the questions that you will ask your clients?
Well, two of the questions that I ask, which I think are critical for anybody who has a business to kind of stop and ask themselves are, what do you do really well? What needs improvement? What are you doing that's actually bringing you revenue that you can measure? And what are you doing that's, what are you spending money on from a marketing standpoint that you don't really know if you're getting your return on investment? So those are all really critical questions because, in my opinion, for every dollar that you spend on marketing, you want to know that you're getting X amount of dollars back as a return on investment, right? Marketing
How
shouldn't
do you
be,
know that, Ed? I mean, because sometimes it takes months.
well, it may take months, but that's the um, benefit of having a marketing system that's what's called closed loop. And those are the types of systems that I like to build. And what that means is that we can track everything that happens from an initial ad we may run until the client comes in through the door. And so that we can measure our results. We can say for every dollar we spend, we make $10 in revenue or $50 in revenue or $100 in revenue, whatever that is. The reason why you want the closed loop is because it helps you quickly identify the things that are working really well and the things that aren't working well so that you can either eliminate them or make adjustments and get them to improve. So you can improve your, what I call engagement rate. An engagement rate is people that see your marketing and advertising and actually respond and become a qualified lead.
And you help people write copy so that people will respond.
That is correct. Yep. It's called direct response copy, or sometimes people call it sales copy. But the focus of it is to get the person to take the next step, whatever that is. It's not always buying. Some sales cycles could have 10, 12, even 20 different stages that someone has to go through. But at every one of those stages, they need copy and confirmation that it makes sense for them to move to the next step.
You know, a lot of copy that I see either is a question, do you want to reduce your weight? Do you want to reduce stomach acid? Whatever it is. Or I see things like, here are the 5 foods to avoid. Here are the 5 stress signals. And then you have to wait and read through things. But I seem to see it either as a question or people will give you, they're going to tell you these 5 top things. What do you think, Ed?
So that's very popular. It's a time-honored marketing tactic, if you will. And the reason why people use that is because they are trying to identify their target audience. So for instance, if the question is, I think you said, do you want to lose weight? Well, if I don't want to lose weight, then this isn't for me. I'm not in
Right,
the target audience, right?
right.
So a lot of that is what's called pre-sales, where they're trying to identify, they put a lot of content out and they're trying to bring in their target audience into what's called a marketing funnel. So that's why you see a lot of those types of advertisements.
And you think
And
that's effective?
it is effective. However, I think there's better ways to do it that can be more effective. But for particular certain industries like the weight loss industry, that works extremely well. That's why you see it over and over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So Ed, what do you think about the use of focus groups to find out what the needs are?
I think it's one of the best ways to understand your target audience and what they're really looking for. Um, it- as a matter of fact, it's one of the classes I teach is how to write persuasive copy. And one of the methods I ask people to do is to go back and talk to their past customers and also set up some focus groups. The better you
Mhm.
understand the needs of your clients, the easier
Yeah,
it is to write a marketing message that's going to get them to respond. And
yeah,
what most people do is they guess.
yeah.
So research obviously a fundamental part of writing any kind of advertising or promotion because you want to speak directly to the person who you can help the most.
Hmm. When you say research, research about what are the stats, like how many people, for example, might need this, or how many people, like 50% of the people are going through this, or is that the kind of research you mean?
Um, Although that's important, the research that I'm talking about are what are the underlying needs of people. So um, when you understand not only let's use weight loss as an example, but
Yep, I'm listening.
when you understand not only that people want to lose weight, but why they want to lose weight and why it's
Right.
important to them to lose weight, then you can talk to those underlying factors. So it may be a health reason, it may be because um, their life they've had a life-changing illness or somebody in their family has, and now they're on this new journey. And so if you can relate to that journey as part of your promotion and advertising and marketing, then it makes it easier for them to say, this company's for me, this person's for me, that product's for me. And
But I
ultimately,
think
that's what we're trying to get them to do.
But I think it gets a little even more refined than that. I'll give you an example. So let's say we want to lose weight, right? But we don't want to take a pill. We don't want to do it. We want to do something very holistic, whatever it is, whether it's exercise or taking herbs. So how do I find that person? Because if I'm targeting, right, it could be people who do want to go one way and other people who want to go another way. I guess the question I'm asking is, how do you refine that research to find those people?
So we call it target market segmenting, right? So if you sell a holistic health product, you want
Right.
people who are in that frame of mind or
Mm-hmm.
in that target audience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you do with your marketing. Instead of do you want to lose weight? Do you want to lose weight without, pills, fads, or diets, right?
Got it.
So the way you uh, disseminate your marketing message and what's in it will help you define or help you reach the target audience that, again, you're most likely to help. And that's why that research is really important because within every target audience, there are segments. And so you may have to create different messages for different segments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's people who want to lose weight holistically, even in that segment, there might be other segments where some people will respond to this type of messaging. Some people
Yeah.
might respond to another type of messaging. And that's where those focus groups and interviews with past clients can help you determine what that marketing message is.
Well, I also remember because I've, worked with you before, something that you talked about that I thought was interesting. And it was finding clients on platforms like LinkedIn, for example, where you find a target person, but you don't try to sell them. You just comment on what they're doing. Talk about that, Ed. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. And plus, it's another way that you can actually use your book too, if you have a book. So rather than try to sell them something, you build a rapport with them. Relationships, um, marketing is all about building relationships. It's about getting people to know, like, and trust you. If someone doesn't believe that you can help them, they're not going to do business with you. So if you find someone in your target audience on LinkedIn and you start commenting on their stuff, maybe you set up a one-on-one to have a chat with them. Um, uh, you take the time to build a relationship. That's going to get you a lot farther than if you say, hey, do you want to buy my product? Right. So, and one of the things you can do with a book, that's a great strategy for the book, is say, hey, Patricia, I just wrote a book about buyer psychology. I know you're interested in it. If you want, I can send you the Kindle version electronically, or if you want to give me your snail mail address, I'll drop a copy in the mail to you.
Mm-hmm.
So now the law of reciprocity kicks in, and you're
Right.
giving them something because you think it'll be of value to them. Of course, it will be of value to them because they're in your target audience. So it's just a great strategy to use, again, to build rapport and to build that know, like, and trust factor.
Another strategy too that you've talked about is just commenting on what they're doing. So for example, they write a blog or they write something, they post it, and you comment or and you start getting a dialogue going.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's the beginning of the rapport building part, building the relationship, is you take the time to read what they said, digest it, and then write a meaningful comment. And they're going to
Mhm.
comment back to you, and then who knows where that can lead to.
Right. All right, we're going to take another break. And to find Ed, it's ECE, all capital, marketing services.com or leveraging and you can find it on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And it's Ed McDonough, McDonough. All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk more about kind of the elements, like what are the elements, of nonfiction book, an effective marketing tool rather than just informational. So we'll talk about, what are some of those key elements, and then how we position our book to attract the right clients. There's so many ways, whether it's public speaking or whether it's a blog or whether it's a reel on Instagram that's very popular now. We'll talk to Ed about what are some of the tools you can use because there are so many, or whether it's a podcast, which is something I help people do, but there's a lot of different tools, and how do you know which is the right one? So we'll talk to Ed about that right after the break. All right, you're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com. America's Voice. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. We are back. You are listening to the Positive Living Show with Patricia Raskin. And today we are talking about marketing your materials, particularly books. How do you market them effectively? How do you write copy that's effective? We have on an expert with us. Ed McDonough is a marketing strategist and architect, and he is a trained direct response copywriter and the founder of ECE Marketing Services. Welcome back, Ed.
Hi, Patricia.
All right. So, what are the key elements that you feel making a nonfiction book, however long or short it is, an effective marketing tool rather than just information?
So first of all, by writing a book, and this could be a book that is published on Amazon, or it could even be, a free uh, guide that you give away on your website as what was called a lead magnet. The thing that's most important about it is it builds authority in a given in a given marketplace, excuse me, by showing that you can help the person, the target audience, either solve a problem or achieve a goal. And when you talk about what's needed to do that and you teach them, here are the things you need to solve this problem, not so much the how to do it, but what's needed, that starts to build a level of trust and authority. And it allows you also to attract prospects from a specific target audience. So I always say, develop a strategy to do this. Write a book, write a guide that's going to speak to the people that are most likely to want to do business with you, and give away your best secrets. Tell them what's needed to solve their problem or achieve their goal. Showcase your expertise. Show them that by far you are the absolute right person to help them get to where they want to go with their problem solved or their goal achieved.
Hmm. So it's really again, I think it's what you said before, it's the know, like, and trust factor.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah, I mean
trust you.
that's so important. Remember, there's only as someone's going through the buyer journey, which we talked about earlier, there are two conditions that have to happen. The first condition is they have to believe what you're saying is true. What's being promoted is
Right.
true. They absolutely have to believe that. Everybody knows that. The second condition is what most people don't understand. They have to believe it's true for them, right? So I believe this weight loss program works. What I don't believe is that it's true for me. I don't believe it's going to work for me. Therefore, I'm going to look for a different one, right? And so until both of those conditions are met, I believe what you're saying is true, and I believe it's true for me, the person will not take the next step, whatever that next step is. And
Mm-hmm.
that's critical in developing a marketing strategy, because if you don't know what moves the person through the buying cycle, then you're not going to be successful.
And how do you take that book, the concept of the book, and tie it into your overall sales and marketing strategy? Do you give the book away? Do you give talks? Do you put it on your website? Do you do all of that?
Uh, that's a great question. So the first thing is, before you even write the book, you need to develop a marketing strategy. How am I going to use this? It's a tool. How am I going to use this tool to generate more business, get more clients, reach my target audience? And so there's a number of different ways you can do it. One of the things that I like to do is, first of all, develop a launch party, right? So what a launch party is you offer the book at a launch price, not a discount, but it is a discounted price, but we don't call it a discount. You have a
Okay.
launch party and you offer the book at a launch price. That way you can put that out to your social media network. They'll share that with other people and they'll know there's some scarcity behind it. It's only for a limited time. And that will help you get your book into the hands of the people that you can help the most. Uh,
It's funny, I want to share this with you. There's a clothing company that I won't mention it, but it's fairly well known. It's for women, but they're very effective. Here's what they do. They do just what you said. They'll have like, okay, flash sale, 30% off till midnight.
mm,
And then the next day it's gone and you're paying full price again.
right.
And people know, and they do it constantly. It's and then tomorrow it might be 40% off and then free shipping. And that's only for like 3 days.
Right.
And it really, I mean, you really have to catch it. And it's like they're training buyers, like, you better get in here.
So
And
let's,
then what they do is they don't always have enough inventory. So
right.
by the time you get to buy it, your size isn't there.
So let's talk about the psychology behind that. So there's two things going on
Wow.
here. Number one is scarcity, right? It's a limited
Yes.
time. If I don't act now, I may miss out. And that's the second thing, the fear of missing out. Most people are will act to keep from a harm than they will from gaining something. So in other words, the fear of missing out, I'm afraid that I'm going to miss this, so I'll act now. That's a much bigger emotion than to gain something. Oh, I'll get this new thing. The fear of missing getting it is way more powerful than the actual emotion of getting it. So it's really important that, for a lot of companies who have figured that out, they use that all the time. One of the drawbacks is if you use it all the time, then people come to expect it all the time, right?
Mhm.
So you have to, now if you have a really wide product line like a clothing company, it's not a big deal because one week it could be hats, the next week it could be bathing suits, the next week
That's
it could
true.
be shoes, right? But
Right.
for smaller companies that don't have a lot of products, you need to be really careful with the scarcity thing. And
Yeah.
again, with a book, you're not writing 10 books at once, right? You're writing one book and you're releasing it. So that's why the launch party mentality works really well because it's a special, one time only during the launch discount price. And then as soon as the launch is over, that price goes back, that's going to be go back up to regular price. And
Mhm.
that's and then you never do it again. So
There's another strategy I want to tell you about that's interesting. So there'll be like a course with 10 people, and it's whatever it is. It's an expensive course, and these are leaders in the field. They'll give you the course for free, Ed, if you listen to it at a certain time, like when it's on, and then after that week, you have to then pay for it. So what they're saying is if you want to work around our schedule and make sure you're there at 12 noon for these 4 days, you can listen. But if you want it on your own time and you want to own it, this is what it is. It's very clever. Talk
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, and so what happens there is even if you can make, let's say there's 4 segments and you can be there 4 days in a row at 12 noon
Mm,
to listen, they're betting on the fact that you're going to want to listen to it again because it's going to be
right.
so much information. It's going to be so overwhelming. You're probably not going to get any of the notes or transcripts or anything else that comes with it unless you pay for it. So they're using it as what's called a lead in or a lead magnet, right?
Mm,
Come in, listen to our complete show, see the value that we offer, and then if you want more, you have to pay for it.
mhm. And it does work.
It does work. It works very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say
And
it's the same concept of as the book too. Even though someone may buy the book, we're giving them a bunch of information, and if they want more, if they want the solution, if they want help getting the solution, they have to pay for it.
right. And often, you know, I, often people react out of the need and the pain point, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we often do. We just wait until we really need something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to, with any part of your marketing strategy, to be talking about the problem that you solve for your
Mm,
target audience or the goal that you're going to help them achieve. People come
mm,
to us for one or two reasons. They have a goal they want to achieve, which may be to get rid of a problem, but it's still a goal. Or they have a problem and they've tried a lot of different things, but they don't have the solution. And so when you can show them, here's what you need to do to put the solution in place, not necessarily how to do it, that's when they start to see that you're the expert and that you're the authority in this. You're telling them exactly what needs to be done. And that builds rapport. And again, that know, like, and trust factor.
And I think, tell me, this is my opinion. I feel I would rather work with that person individually. Let me give you an example. I go into a store and I'm overwhelmed. Too many racks, too much. This is over here, that's over there. So now I want to work with a personal shopper because I talk to them and in 2 seconds they say, yeah, well, this is what would be good for you. Look over here. So I guess and you see this in travel too, where people are not just traveling, they're hiring those personal guides. Yes, it's expensive, but
Mm,
I don't have to look it up. I don't have to get lost. I don't have to miss something because I'm going to get in. So talk about that advantage of having that sort of personal without you having to figure it out on your own, which is going to take you more time.
right. So it's the same concept as working with a coach or a mentor.
Yeah.
It's having somebody that's an expert in your corner. My son just recently got engaged and he didn't know what to do. So believe it or not, he hired an engagement consultant. And they came in and they interviewed him. He told them what he was looking for. They gave him some ideas. They tweaked it a little bit and they set the whole thing up for him, right?
Wow.
So it's paying for that extra level of expertise. The other way to look at it too is it gets you from point A to point B much faster. There's a lot less trial and error. There's a lot less figuring out on your own.
Very
There's
true.
a lot less making mistakes, right? This is what I want. This is what I like. Show me how to get it.
And I also think that in today's world, time really is money. I mean, particularly for people who are working and busy. Yeah.
Absolutely. So if there's a shortcut you can take, um, people are interested in learning it, and they'll pay top dollar for it, quite frankly. Look at the
Oh,
golf industry. If you can develop a product that takes one stroke off of a golfer's swing, that's $1 million product right there because golfers are just hungry they want the
yeah,
easy way out, right?
yeah.
They want to press the easy button and learn how to golf better.
Or travel where you have a
Yes.
personal guide. And Ed, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, it could cost you almost the same as your trip to have somebody, but you've got that person who knows that area cold and all the
Right.
history.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to make a much better adventure for you ultimately. So you pay for expertise. It's
And
quite
so what you're
common.
saying is the more expertise you can offer and the more you can get the person to know, like, and trust you, that's where the book comes in or the podcast or the service.
Right. Absolutely. That's what it's all about is being seen as the authority figure in your marketplace. And by the way, it does take effort, but the ones that do it are the ones that are extremely successful because
Yeah.
they understand that in order for people to work with me, two things have to happen. They have to believe what I'm saying is true, and they have to believe it's true for them.
Right. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk to Ed about, beyond book sales, how else can we leverage our book to increase authority? And also, what are some of the mistakes? We've been talking about that. What are some of the mistakes that maybe we might do on our own that maybe an expert can help us in terms of marketing? Because there's so many choices for marketing today. My guest is Ed McDonough. He's a marketing architect. He's a direct response copywriter and the founder of ECE Marketing Services. And he helps clients with revenue growth and in terms of developing strategy for marketing. Stay tuned, folks. That you're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone, and we are back again with Ed McDonough, and who is a marketing strategist and architect, and he is a trained direct response copywriter and the founder of ECE Marketing Services, LLC. And we're talking about how do you market your product, particularly written products like books or blogs, and how do you do it effectively. So, Ed, welcome back. Let's talk about beyond book sales. How can a business leverage their book to increase authority and generate speaking engagements or close a deal?
Yeah, awesome. So one of the and this is something that I learned um, by accident, actually. Books are great ways to get speaking gigs and do interviews. You can send them to, people who run podcasts and things like that. But another thing they're really good for is to use for teaching opportunities. So when I 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I moved to New Bern, North Carolina, and I went down to the Small Business Center. They were looking for people to teach classes there. And I went down there and I brought a copy of my book and I autographed it for the director and I gave it to him. And
Wow.
it was just a great way for me to say, if you're looking for a marketing expert, here's somebody that wrote a book about it, right? So it was a great way to get a teaching opportunity. Another thing that it's good for is for nurturing and building relationships that you have either virtually through virtual networking or in-person networking or one-on-ones. You find somebody in your target audience who you think is an ideal client for you. Instead of trying to pitch them something, send them a copy of your book, right?
Mm.
Spend $10, put it in the mail, a priority envelope, and send it to them and let them read your book. Because again, the purpose of the book is to build rapport and let them see that you are the expert, you are the marketplace authority, and you're going to be the one that they do business with. And
Mm.
then another idea for this is also to use it as an aid in cross-selling. So if you have different verticals where you cross-sell, when somebody buys a service or a product in one vertical, you give them a free copy of the book that talks about the problem you solve in the other vertical.
Mm.
So those are just a couple ideas to help you close deals. I can't tell you the number of times that I've put a book in snail mail to somebody, and maybe a week, 2 weeks later, they're on the phone with me saying, I read your book. This one point really hit home with me. How can you help me? Right? It's not even about how much does it cost? It's about when can we get started, right? And so
That's right.
that's why they're so powerful. And again, the book is uh, very much packed with value. It's showing them the steps they need to take to solve their problem or achieve their goal.
How do you figure out, Ed, who to send it to? Right? I mean, you could send it to 50 people, but you're only going to send it to five. Are they the leaders of their company? Have you read about them on LinkedIn or on another social media? Or are they an author of a book? I mean, how do you know who to send it to?
So I never use it as a cold prospecting tool. What I use it as a follow-up tool for after I've met somebody. So I've met somebody, I've asked them a series of questions, which is for another podcast. But I've asked them a series of questions, and they have indicated to me that they're in my ideal target market. They're the kind of person that I would want to work with. That's the person I'm going to send the book to. So again, I don't use it for cold outreach. I use it as a pre-sales tool for a highly qualified prospect.
Let's talk about some common mistakes that businesses make when they create a book for marketing purposes, and how can they avoid common mistakes?
So I think number one is, again, before the book is created, to think marketing tool, right? This is a tool in my marketing toolbox, and you want to focus on the goal of the tool, which is to build relationships with the target audience. So it's not, it's great to write a book and it's great to be a published author. But if you can narrow that down into being something useful to a specific target audience, again, the people most likely to purchase your products and services, it's going to be more valuable for you. The other thing that you want to do or avoid, and this is whether it's a printed book or a digital book or even a lead magnet or a free giveaway, is do not try to sell directly from the book. Remember the goal. The person knows little to nothing about you. You have to build that relationship first, because they have to feel that what you're saying is true, and they have to feel what you're saying is true for them, right? Before they're going to take the next step. So don't be in a hurry to sell. Nurture. That's the number one thing, is give them the book, ask them if they have any questions about it, point out some chapters that they may want to reread or may have not read yet, and continually focus on the book being the answer to them solving their problem or achieving their goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one more for you too.
Go ahead.
Another one is that the book, at the end of the book, there should be some kind of soft call to action. Like, if you like the information in this guide and you want to learn more and you're unsure on how to execute all this stuff, set up a discovery call with me. Let's get on the Zoom for 20 minutes and talk about how you can apply these things in your business.
What would you like to leave our listeners with today, Ed? Closing thoughts about marketing being effective, particularly in writing a book, because today there's so many books because so many people self-publish.
Right.
20, 30 years ago, it was harder to self-publish. And it also wasn't as recognized as it is today.
Right.
I remember a day, as a broadcaster, where if you self-published, you couldn't get on, the author wouldn't come on the show.
Right.
In other words, they would not place that person that was self-published.
Right.
However, today, some of your best-selling authors are self-published.
Right.
So there's so much more out there, which means it's more competitive. So what are your closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts are to eliminate that competitiveness is focus on the people that you can help the most. Sometimes they're referred to as low-hanging fruit. When you are speaking directly to them with your marketing message, with your book, whatever it is, your videos, your reels, it doesn't matter. When you're talking to a specific audience about helping them solve their problem or achieve the goal, that's the thing that's going to make you stand out. And again, share your best secrets. Tell them things that your competitors are not telling them that are going to help them. Because when you do, they're going to trust you and they're going to take the next step forward. And by the way, it's the same way that you personally buy stuff that you buy. You will never buy something from somebody you don't know, like, or trust.
I tend to buy from the same people over and over. I just tend to do that. And I don't know if it's the best way to do it, but I just feel safe doing it that way,
You
Ed.
feel safe. You feel that you're going to get value, right?
Yes.
Maybe you can get some more value somewhere else, but you don't want to go through that process of having to vet somebody else. That's why repeat business is so important, and that's why
Yes.
referrals are so important. But this is a way to get referral-like leads without actually somebody referring them to you. Is you just building that know, like, and trust factor in a different with a different method.
How do you help people? Just tell people, what are some of the things you do with your clients? We've got like 2 minutes.
Yep. So the thing that I do more than anything else is I help people design and implement systems that we're talking about here. Systems that use email marketing, direct mail, telemarketing, social media to build a know, like, and trust factor so they have another source of referral-like leads coming in other than just relying on networking, one-on-ones, and referrals.
And if someone hears this and they'd like to call you or write you, you offer like a quick consult?
Yes, so we can set up a discovery call where we'll discover if I'm a fit for you and if you're a fit for me. And if it's a match, then we take the next step. And you can do that right from my website at ECEMarketingServices.com.
Okay. Ed, thank you. It was wonderful to have you on the program.
My
Always.
pleasure. My pleasure,
Thank you.
Patricia.
Stay on
Thank
the
you.
line for a minute. All right, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show. You can find me, Patricia, at patriciaraskin.com if you'd like to get a copy of my monthly newsletter so you can see all the great guests I have on like Ed. And if you'd like to get your positive message out, right, and you would like to do it through a podcast, I've interviewed over 5,000 people in my career and I can help you put your podcast together. So contact me, Patricia at patriciaraskin.com. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Until next time, I'm Patricia Raskin. Bye for now.